Douglas G. Lee joined Waynesburg University as the Executive Vice President in October of 2009. Working closely with then President Lee Thyreen, he was unanimously elected President of the University by the Board of Trustees in September of 2012 and took office July 1st, 2013. Under Lee's leadership, Waynesburg University has received national attention for the economic outcomes of its graduates. Studies published by the Brookings Institution, The Economist, USA Today, and Money Magazine have placed Waynesburg University in the top 10% nationwide for this type of category. Waynesburg University has also been regularly recognized by the U.S. News and World Report as a Best Value School. Most recently, they ranked number 8 on the 2022 Best Value Regional Universities list. Also under Lee's leadership, the university has been recognized regionally by the Pittsburgh Business Times as a best place to work for 2015, and internationally as one of the most beautiful Christian college campuses in the world. In March 2015, the Middle States Commission on Higher Education awarded Waynesburg University reaccreditation for a 10-year period. And in September 2015, the university was awarded the Imani Christian Academy's 2015 Leadership in Service Education Award. The university has been named to the President's Higher Education Community Service Honor Roll for 8 consecutive years. Lee has served as the chair of the President's Athletic Conference President's Council and on the board of directors for the Association of Independent Colleges and Universities of Pennsylvania, or AICUP. He was recently appointed to the NCAA Division III Board of Governors and currently serves as chairperson for AICUP Member Services. Lee received a peer-reviewed, very high rating in both legal ability and ethical standards from Martindale Hubbell in 2022. He was selected as an awardee of the Pittsburgh Business Times 2017 Outstanding CEOs and Top Executives. He was the co-recipient of the South Point CEO Association's World Class CEO Award for 2016. He was also named to the Pennsylvania Business Central's Top 100 People list for 2013. He was also the recipient of the Boy Scouts of America General Green District of the Laurel Highlands Council's 2015 Good Citizen Award, and has been recognized in the Best Lawyers in America, having spoken and written extensively on workers' compensation and labor and employment law topics. He is an elder at the Presbyterian Church, has served on the Greene County Planning Commission, and is a graduate of Leadership West Virginia. He is an Eagle Scout, has served on the executive board for the Mountaineer Area Council, Boy Scouts of America, and is a member of the Fort Jackson chapter, Sons of the American Revolution. An endurance athlete, Lee is a finisher of 3 Ironman triathlons and 6 marathons, including the Marine Corps Marathon and Death Valley Marathon. With that, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce President Douglas G. Lee to the stage.
Thank you for that very nice introduction. I want to share with all of you, take you back 40 years. The Student Senate used to meet in this room. I was on the Student Senate. We sat right over there. And never in my wildest dreams would I ever have thought that I'd be up here as president listening to all those accomplishments. And it just means one thing. Put your faith in God. Put your faith in God. God has a plan for you. You just don't know what it is until you get to be 65 years of age. Sometimes. Maybe sometimes sooner, maybe not. So thank you. I am very proud of the Communications Department. I want to thank all of you for being here. If you walk in the very front entrance, you'll see all of those awards that the Communications Department has won just in the last couple of years, including a Student Emmy Award, which is almost unheard of. In Public Relations Society of America chapter, you've won every year they've ever given that away in the Pittsburgh region, besting all the big schools up there. So we're small, we're mighty. That's what I always like to say. So there's a few things I want to talk about in this press conference, and then I can open it up to any questions that you might have. And first is just some some announcements and discussions about learning initiatives. First, we just received word, I think it was on Thursday, that we received a $250,000 award from the Table Foundation. That's a New York foundation, New York City. And it's for Knowledge for Freedom grant, used to implement a 3-week intensive summer program for low-income, underserved high school juniors and seniors in our region, using places, literature, and primary sources and materials. Students will have an opportunity to explore our region and answer the question about how does living here in this space become important? Why does space place? How does space become a place, if you like that? So we're really excited about that because it's part of our mission, our mission of serving. We do close to 30,000 hours of service every year, faculty and staff. We serve 43 different state and local agencies. And service is about putting yourself out there, isn't it? It's not about thinking introspectively about everything going on in your life, but it's really looking around at the other people that really need help and serving them and helping them. And that is a wonderful thing. This is going to allow us to do even more of that. I'm so proud of that. Also, there are some things that are happening on our learning initiatives that I want to mention. And, if you go into the Stover Campus Center, you see on the left-hand side, they've been working on the eHive there. And that should be done in December. And so the eHive is open to everyone that has any thoughts about creating things, And so that's what that's open for with Dr. Walls. You don't have to be a business major to do the entrepreneurship. Anybody that wants to be a problem solver, that wants to create opportunities, that wants to do anything can be part of that. We've got over $1 million worth of equipment that's going in there, funded by donors, and we also have about $1.5 million worth of improvements that are going in there. So it's a huge project. None of that costs student dollars. That was funded by donors. Our goal really is to try to keep your tuition as low as we possibly can, even in these interesting times of high inflation. And so the eHive is funded by donors. And if you look at Wiley Field, it was the same story. All those improvements down there. We dramatically expanded the parking lot, and added in on that beautiful wall and the shower and locker rooms and everything. That was all donor funded. That wasn't part of university dollars. Also, next to our current CJ house, you see we've demolished property there. We'll be adding on and building probably as soon as we finish up with some regulatory requirements that we're working on with the borough. We're going to build a Center for Criminal and Forensic Investigation. And that's going to be an integrated approach to forensic science, forensic investigation, forensic accounting, law. A number of things are going to go in there. And that's going to be open not only to the students, but to community leaders, all emergency services, law enforcement, first responders. It'll be a place to have conferences. Again, that's funded by donations. And so we're excited. We'll start working on that probably very shortly. That probably won't be done until the fall, but we'll have that underway. And then another program, I suppose, or item that we've added that probably you're all familiar with is now a farm. It's 5 minutes from town. If you go to the end of town, West Waynesburg, make a right, go off the road, there's a gorgeous 1820 stone home, completely redone. A log cabin that has logs built from the first cabin erected here west of the Alleghenies in this region. It's got a farm from 1790. These giant, massive beams in the farm. So you can imagine those trees were probably 300 years old when they cut them down. So those trees go all the way back to the 1400s, 1500s. Amazing heritage. And these folks that spent their life on that farm, John and Susan Alston, rebuilt it, refurbished it. They left us all the furniture. all the art, everything is there. And I want that to be a place for students to go with programs, with events, opportunities, and also classes. And so we've got a committee put together working on that. The value of that farm was about $900,000, and that was a gift to the university because they wanted to give it to someone they knew would love it and care for it. I'm so excited about it. It's 56 acres of property as well. We can conduct different things. And so we'll be putting together ideas on how to use that as well. But the folks that I've had out there on tours just rave about it. So that's the good news. And now the interesting news from the Department of Education, the United States Department of Education. They have now published new regulations. These are probably the most significant regulations they've ever published. And it impacts you because it impacts us, and I'll explain how. It's called, they are regulations for greater, basically they're going to impose on us greater reporting requirements. The good news is we're way out ahead of the curve on this because we focused for such a long time, as you heard, on our value, on our outcomes, on our low cost, on our student success. And that's in large part what these regulations are about. It's called Protecting Students Through Final Regulations that Strengthen Department of Education Oversight. So that means they're going to be taking a closer look at everyone when you hear Department of Education Oversight, right? So that means we'll have to create more documents, more work. It will cost us more money to do this, which regulations inevitably do. But the point of it is to monitor colleges and universities and make sure that they are doing what the society expects colleges and universities to be doing now, which is educating students for career path opportunities. 4 areas: financial responsibility, so they're going to look at the financial health of organizations. Secondly, the ability to manage Title IV funds. Thirdly, there are certain programs such as nursing, such as education, and others that require accreditation or certification. And the Department of Education says if you're going to have those courses, you have to make sure that you're certified and keep your certification up. So that's another requirement. And then fourth, career and pathways and counseling. As you know, we have a Pathways Center. There's 2 that I really want to talk about. First is the administering of Title IV funds, the capability, the ability to administer Title IV funds. What does that mean? Well, what they say it means is that institutions provide adequate financial aid counseling and financial aid communications to students, including information on the cost of attendance and the sources and types of financial aid available to them. Now, if you were to read the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, it was published about 3 weeks ago, they had an article about hundreds of colleges, including local ones, vow to make financial aid offers more transparent. And this program is one that we've been involved in for a long time. It's called the College Cost Transparency Program. It mentions in this article, I'm trying to find it here, I think it was, here it is, University of Pittsburgh, West Virginia University, Slippery Rock University, and Waynesburg University. Those are the 4 schools in the region right now that are following this. So that means all the other ones aren't yet. It's not required, but we've gone the extra mile to make it as transparent as we possibly can. And I'm proud that we're leading the way on that with major institutions like Pitt and WVU. And then lastly, as I mentioned, the certification procedures, which again, if you're going to offer certified programs that require accreditation, you have to make sure you stay accredited in those programs. Finally, career and pathway counseling. It says institutions, regulations also define an eligible career pathway program and set clear documentation standards for institutions to demonstrate compliance. Again, you've heard all of the stories about the articles in the paper about how much debt students have when they graduate from college and how difficult it is for them to repay it. And they've got a degree that doesn't help them get a job. And so there's all this discussion in society about it. That's why we have the Pathway Center here already in place, giving students counseling, helping them to succeed. Our Center for Student Success, all of that is to make sure that that happens. So those are the areas that I'm living in right now, working on. I actually, just two other thoughts. I recently attended a President's Council meeting at the NCAA in Indianapolis, Indiana. And it's a beautiful campus. I don't know if anyone's ever been to the NCAA. I thought it was just a big building in the middle of Indianapolis, but no, it looks like a college campus with a number of different buildings. There's one area when you walk in, there's every logo of every school that's a member of the NCAA. It's really a cool long hallway with all these schools, all their logos on it, and they have statues and plaques of various athletes in the past and people that they've honored. So it was a great place, and you have an opportunity there to associate not only with Division III presidents, but I had a breakfast with the president of a major Ivy League university. We just sat there and talked about how things were going at his school and how things were going at mine. And it's great to have a chance to have that kind of interaction with leaders across the country. So that was one thing that having the Association of Independent Colleges and Universities, I'm now the Secretary-Treasurer of that. So that's every private college in Pennsylvania is a member, and we have a meeting coming up next week. But again, we're addressing all of these regulations and making sure that education stays affordable and we have good outcomes for the students. There's a lot going on, but I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has. And no question is a bad one. We probably have some difficult ones, I'm sure, but I'll do my best to answer them. So I'll open up the floor for questions. Does everyone have a nice Thanksgiving? Okay, that's my first question. Yes?
Will you receive a teacher from university?
That's a really good question. My vision is this, that the students that we've been educating here, maybe for 20 years now, are the great hope, I think, of the future. I seriously mean that. We have a professor, Richard Epstein. He's one of the 10 great legal minds of the 20th century. He comes from Chicago. He's been here twice. He says the students that you have are the kind of students that we want in our graduate schools. People see this when they come here. They say, this is a best kept secret. I said, I don't want it to be a secret anymore. They love the sense of work and things that are happening here. And so taking that and translating it into the future is the impact that I see our students potentially have happening. Because here we really are trying to work on educating you on how to think, not what to think. There's a big difference in that. And secondly, then, as you all go out into the world and become successful, I think you all become the great benefactors who will secure this university for ages ahead. Because this country will need schools like Waynesburg that have a grounding in faith, connecting faith, learning, and serving. Other schools you go to, there's no discussion about faith, or it's discouraged. Here we embrace it, and we try to build it into the whole person that we're educating. And so keeping this kind of an institution will be like what the Bible says about being salt in the world and light in the world. Our motto, Via Lux, let there be light. The first word God speaks in the Old Testament is let there be light. So that's my vision. It's not so much about the school as it is about the people. And then as you all go out, the reputation of the school grows. And we're already seeing that as well. People talking about that. My wife belongs to a group of influential people in Upper St. Clair. They get together. It's a Bible group, and they say the reputation of Waynesburg is growing. It's getting, we can hear about it more and more. So that's important. And so that's my vision. It's the people. love and care for this place long after I'm gone? It's a good question, thank you. It's a vision question, really. So any other questions? Yes?
What have you learned from being president of the university that you think is the most important for us to hear?
That's a really good question. I've learned some important things about leadership. I counseled corporations for 20 years as a lawyer, and I saw what it looked like to have a good organization run and a bad organization. Normally the bad ones are my clients, right? Because somebody's suing them for something. And then I saw the good ones too. And you come in with a certain idea as a leader, and then it's a matter of adapting your strengths to the organization. So what have I learned? First of all, important thing, don't react. As the person that's sort of in charge, don't react. 9 times out of 10, things will take care of themselves without you intervening. When you get involved, things get crazy. So you have to be careful as to when you actually get involved in something. Secondly is humility. I saw time and time again in business, in law, people that came in with this little arrogant attitude. And you knew they were there for a purpose. They were there to do something, and then they were going to be gone because they were easy to get rid of. Because their ego was so big, they were blinded by what was happening around them. If you go into the workplace, don't take an ego with you. Take confidence. Take good confidence and an understanding of your skills and abilities. Don't take an arrogant attitude, because it'll get you in trouble, guaranteed. Those are 2 really good things I've learned. So 3 things, I guess. Don't be arrogant. Stay humble. Don't react. And lastly, pray a lot as a Christian. Now, maybe non-Christians don't, but pray a lot. God is alive and well and answers questions in the most amazing ways that you don't expect, which is surprising. And that's when you know there is a God. When you see that happen, you're like, there's no other way that could happen. I can give you 20 stories about that right now. But I never expected when I was in this position. But that I see, I've grown tremendously in my faith because I pray all the time. That's what you have to do. So there you go. Some excellent questions. These are really good questions. That's someone else. Yes.
Any concerns going in with the challenges from the education shift? Do you have any concerns regarding that?
I think, we have to really watch. Title IV funds are given to all the schools by the federal government, so it's their money, and they can decide how it's going to be spent and what you have to do to comply and respond, and I get that. But things can go too far, and so I hope that, this sort of ends that kind of involvement, because the more you tend to regulate, and I suppose economists and other people would differ with me on this, but I saw it as an attorney, when there's a lot of regulation, there's very little room for innovation and creativity, because there's always some other regulation that deals with that. And so over-regulation could be really bad for higher education. It's done really remarkably well on its own for all the years that it's been around. And I know there are those horror stories, and those are the ones that force our legislators to make decisions and make laws. It's the horror stories. It's the 5 or 6 or 7 horror stories you hear, not the 5,200 other schools that don't have horror stories that are doing fine. And so, but it's public opinion and what drives politics. And so we have to be cautious with education. It's all about the mind. It's about the mind, and it has to be a liberating, freeing experience, and one that really shouldn't be controlled. The real driver right now does seem to be, can you get a job when you get out? Some students don't go to school to get a job. They go for other reasons, not all, but some. And so we can't creativity in our country. So we have to be careful about that. You could destroy it if you go too far. So it's an adjustment. It's a really good question. Anything else from anyone? Otherwise, I'll have to ask you a second question. It can't be about Thanksgiving. I already asked you one. Did anyone, who traveled the farthest? Give me that. 5 hours. Anyone farther than 5 hours? 13 hours. Where did you go? Missouri. You drove right past my brother's house, I bet. He lives right off of Interstate 70, a place called Highland, Illinois. I'll have to have you stop and visit me next time. That's good. Well, 13. Anybody have farther than 13 hours? All right, well, there you go. Okay, good. That's great. Chris, do you have any questions for me? Chris is my executive assistant, as you probably know. She's
I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
What keeps you up at night?
Mm.
What do you want to sell?
Oh, wow. Yeah. I think the economy keeps me up at night, truly, seriously. You know, it's the interest rates are way down on investments. Inflation is up. Costs are up. And so it's getting through these hard economic times. And a lot of schools, you know, feel the same way as I do. All the schools feel the same way I do. But you really want to know what I tell other university presidents to keep me up at night. There's a group of about 40 students who come to my house every Thursday night to pray at 9 p.m. And so when they go around in a group and they say, President Lee, what keeps you awake at night? I say, well, how about 40 students coming to your house at 9 p.m. to pray? And they just go, what? What? It's true. It's true. That's what I love to say. Keeps me awake. And your second question, I apologize. What do I say? I celebrate the culture we have here, I think. I really do. That we try to focus in our human condition as best as we can on what Jesus teaches us. Love God, love your neighbor, parable of the Good Samaritan. And how, even in these times of such cynicism and skepticism, that we have such a vibrant culture in that respect. I celebrate that. I celebrate our faculty, how hard they work, how they better the students, and the successes of our students. And I just saw, you know, on LinkedIn, one of our students, he's a Duquesne Law School graduate, just got an appointment to work as a clerk with a federal judge, Ryan McComb. And that's a big deal as a law student. You know, there are only a few federal judges that get picked to work. Means you've done something right, which means we did something right, educating him. Here I celebrate a lot of moments like that too. And I do celebrate just how generous our donors have been for the last 3 years. I mean, we've raised an incredible amount of money. It's evident in everything we see that we're developing. I celebrate that, so thank you. Okay, so let's see where are we at time-wise. 32 minutes. All right, so, oh, good, there's another question. What's my favorite part? Being with all of you. That's easy, I'm serious. I wish I had more time. I'd probably wear you all out. I'll tell you, probably annoy you after a while, like, oh, here comes the president again. You know, he wants to talk. We're busy. But no, I really love being with all of you. And it's something that I really never expected. You know, I didn't expect this job. Came to a phone call one Saturday morning. You know, here I am, big lawyer, 29 attorneys, 15 paralegals work for me. I'm making a ton of money. I've got just built a big house. And then the phone call was, how would you like to be the president of Waynesburg University? And I was like, are you absolutely out of your mind? I'm going to retire. I'm going to move. I'm going to surf. I'm going to travel the world. God was like, no, you're not. You're going to do this. And you know, God was right. It's the best thing I think that ever happened to me outside of my relationship with him and my family, my wife. So what really, though, was a great surprise was the students when I got here. And I was like, we have have a chance. The world has a chance with these folks. They're really great people. You know, we have a chance. So it's just giving you all hope and educating you as best we can. That's the best part of it. Moments like this, I cherish. You know, most presidents would be sweating right now. Oh my gosh, they're going to ask me questions. I'm like, go ahead, ask me a question. I'll try to answer it as best I can. I love moments like this, so thank you. It's a great question. Thank you. All right, anything else? Everybody's like, oh, good.
You have told us a lot of things that are happening with E-Hive and Criminal Justice House, but what's the one that you're most looking forward to the upcoming semester?
Yeah, you know what? I love them all, but the one that's going to be open right away is the E-Hive, and I'm really excited about that. Because here's the other piece of the E-Hive that maybe you all know. The students are now running the bookstore. And so they're designing shirts, other products that we're selling in the bookstore. This whole notion of these remanufactured pens out of Walmart bags, when I show them to people, they're amazed. And I'm like, if we can mass produce these, this would be a cool story about Waynesburg. Like, here's a school that's recycling their own plastic, turning it into something that we can sell. And what I want to do is then sell them to these companies to give away. But they're going to pay us, and they can give away, saying, look at what we're doing to help, with sustainability through what this school is doing here. So it's a great story. So I'm really excited about not only the pens, but everything happening there. You don't have to be a business major to get involved in that. It's a great opportunity to really learn and develop skills that employers want. So, yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about all the things Dr. Walls is doing. Did anyone get to see the pumpkin drop? Yeah, it's one of my favorite events. Tossing those pumpkins off the stove balcony. You can normally tell if one makes it or not by the way it hits the ground, right? You can normally tell. So, good. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for anyone? Okay, well then you are, I guess, free to go. Unless you had anything else, because I won't keep you here. I'm free if you have any other questions after the conference. I can stick around and talk. But thank you for this opportunity. Well done on the introduction. That's a lot of information you had to read. I apologize for that. So I'll try not to be so successful in the future. So, yeah. Thank you.